Well, welcome back, everybody, to episode 221 of the DanJohnUniversity.com podcast. I'm Dan John. Now, listen, if you have questions for the podcast, please send them to podcast@DanJohnUniversity.com. I try to answer each and every one. It is funny to read the comments. A lot of people have noticed that there's been a lot of questions repeated, but sometimes I think it actually helps to repeat the questions, and sometimes maybe it doesn't. So let's get started today. We'll start off with a question from Ollie. Ollie says this: I'm a kickboxer and regularly train strength, endurance, mobility for kickboxing. That's so much that I can't do any strength training more than twice a week. That's why I like your idea of the ABC complex. I've heard on an episode that you recommend doing the ABC complex once a week along with another strength training session. I also strength train with my own body and I have little experience with weights. So I'm asking you how to run the ABC complex. The first thing is that I don't recommend doing it once a week. What I recommend, for those you who missed the, I don't know, missed the train or the plane or whatever, the ABC complex kettlebells, double kettlebells. You do 2 cleans, 1 press, 3 front squats. Put the weight down. Basically, you rest about the amount of time that it took you to do that one set. So sometimes it's called I go, you go, or 1-to-1 or whatever. It's a difficult complex in some ways. The hardest part is you probably can keep going on it as long as you physically can. Generally, I recommend twice week 1, once week 2, twice week 3, once week 4, and on and on and on. Using the ABC for strength training probably will work for any athlete that's not, a strength athlete. Is there value to this? Yeah, actually, I was having a conversation with the guys in my gym, and we're talking about for my next Olympic lifting meet, use the ABC complex as the warm up. One of the reasons is, the weather's changing. I have some long-term joint issues. Oddly, they're all healed, but when it gets cold, and I do train in my garage, so when it's cold, and I find the kettlebell cleans and front squats easier on my wrists than the barbell front squat. Okay, so for you in your program, if you're going to do something like this, if you chose to do the ABC one day a week, which would be for you, doesn't matter what day, let's say it's Monday. I would suggest you probably get yourself up to 30 rounds, which I think is about the tipping point of where the ABC complex goes from being a good idea to enough is enough. The other workout, I would consider you doing just some basic kind of old school bodybuilding program. You could Reg Park it, and do military press, pull-ups, bench press, rows, a squat variation, a deadlift variation, curls, and then whatever kind of, you won't need as a kickboxer. I don't know if you need to train the abs in the weight room, but because there's other tools you guys use. And for those who don't know, there's all kinds of, the whole sport is going to be, it is armor building. That's something I'd recommend. Because you're only going to lift one day a week, you're going to probably have to do something. I wouldn't suggest doing 5 sets of 5 at one lift. I would suggest something more the classic DeLorme protocol, where you do a set of 10 at a warm-up-ish weight. You do a set of 5, maybe 75% of the load you want to use that day. And in that third set, you would do as many, which will come up again today in a question. It's a real simple thing. So if you're looking at the thing I said, I think I named off 7 or 9 exercises, something like that. So you can do 3 sets of each with the warm-up weight that for 10. That set of 5 with that intermediate weight just to get yourself ready for the heavy one, and then go for it on that last one. Remember, no program is perfect for everything, and so sometimes you just do pretty good, and this sounds pretty good to me. All right, good question, and I hope it helps. Thank you. Adam says this: I've heard you discuss the body weight clean and press as a good indicator of strength. Now, Adam, make sure you don't think of this. This is what I was told as a kid: body weight clean and jerk, body weight snatch, and then you clean and jerk maybe 20 pounds, 10 kilos more. That's a good indicator of strength. There's nothing wrong with a single one, by the way. I've been eyeing this as a goal. My question is this: on the press, is it strict, or can I use a little lower body push? If not, just like the body weight overhead press would suffice as a good indicator of strength, minus a clean, as the clean is the easiest part. Well, now, frankly, Adam, I don't, if you said in a forum, and by the way, over there at danjohnuniversity.com, we've got a really good forum, and I wish more people would join us. The people are kind and helpful, but if you said I finally got my goal of doing a body weight clean and press, nobody would ask the follow-up, did you use your legs at all? Now, personally, I would say no, don't use your legs at all. That's where the clean and jerk would come in. But if this is how you get there, this is how you get there. So there are certain standards I think about, Percy Sarity, the great Australian track and field coach, used to expect his marathoners to bench body weight and deadlift double body weight. Well, so right there we start. If you can, if a marathoner can bench body weight and deadlift double body weight, maybe all of us who consider ourselves weightlifters should be able to do that too. From there, so those to me are the first. Those are that's where you want to get first. Okay. From there, I love the idea of a body weight overhead press. I love it. I'd love to see you do the clean and press. And you said that clean was the easy part, because some people, that is the thing that holds back. When I teach the RKC, one of the things I notice, a lot of people don't press well. It's because they don't clean well, which is just something when you start seeing that over and over, and I agree with you, if you've got a good clean, the press can be really easy sometimes. After the body weight clean and press, the body weight snatch will be a good thing to run towards. And then from there, you just move into, for most people, into just a numbers game. Like, I don't know, if you're an adult and you can do one pull-up, well, 5's better. And if you can do 5, well, 10's better. And for most people, you probably, really for most people, most of the time, once you deadlift double body weight, you've pretty much, for not strength athletes and not people who, performance athletes, you've pretty much got what you need from the deadlift. Go experiment around with something else. If you can do 10 pull-ups, you kind of got from the pull-up, for most people, what you can get out of the pull-up. It's a hard lesson to learn, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but strong enough is strong enough. Once you get to certain numbers, you certainly can get stronger, and there'd be lots of fun to do it, like in a 3-month period every year, chase a certain lift. There'd be a lot of value to that, but just kind of always keep in mind strong enough. But yeah, I'd love to see a body weight clean and press with no help at all on the press. But if you kick it up a little bit, I'm not going to tell anybody, okay? And I swear that to you, Adam. Good question. Thank you. We got a question from Shalva. And Shalva says this: what's your opinion about Mike Metzger style training? I was never a fan, and I did it for 2 years. I read everything. I was coming out of university. I had my master's degree, and I was teaching. The gym I trained at had a Nautilus room, and I was given free access to it, which was nice. So I dived deeply. I learned a lot. But one of the things you'll discover when you do that, you probably have about 6 weeks at most of making progress. Now, listen, when I heard this story, I have Casey Viator's book in here somewhere, and I have some of the other early Nautilus people, and they're one of the funny claims in sometimes these things, they were drug free, and then I'll talk to somebody else who was at their moment, and they'll say, no, that's not true at all. So I'm not a big fan, but let's continue. I found many similarities in a lot of other training methods. For example, in Purposeful Primitive by Marty Gallagher. Boy, I'd love you to sit down and ask Marty Gallagher if he trains people like Mike Metzger, because I don't know if Marty would agree with you. In Marty's program, it's a 12 or 16 week buildup, and he just expects you to hit those numbers. If you're supposed to do a set of 8 in the back squat with 600 pounds on a certain Saturday, you hit those numbers, you get those 8. When he does his body weight stuff, which I really found interesting, if you were supposed to lose a pound this week and you didn't, he didn't care what you do to lose that pound, but lose that pound. And of course the discipline of that teaches you long-term some things. He also uses the top set method. Even in 5-3-1, it's about working up to the top set. Is one set enough for hypertrophy or strength? And what are the advantages of this method over multiple sets? Interesting. If you study those meta-analysis of workouts, 1 set and 3 sets, very rarely are there any different. But then look at the study. Very often they use untrained people, and I don't know why they're still using untrained people to find out about weightlifting. Folks, if you take an untrained person and you have them lift weights, no matter what they do, they're going to get stronger in 6 weeks. Whether it's 1 set, 10 sets, isometrics, chains, bands, on a balance beam, they're going to get stronger. If you take a group of people who've never typed before and show them how to type, in 6 weeks, they'll be better at typing. I know. How can this happen? Even DeLorme, and I just referenced him in this particular podcast a few seconds ago, for reference if this becomes an individual, episode 221. Tom DeLorme, his idea on the last set, you'd go for as many. This has been a tradition in the weight room for a long time. Trust me, Arthur Jones didn't invent this. It's been around a long time. Now, having said that, I do think it's better to never fail in the weight room. This is the whole foundation of what easy strength is all about. Easy strength is the idea of coming in, and if I say I'm going to do a set of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, I nail it, and I come back tomorrow or the next training program, and if that felt easy, we go up and load. So in my world, I chase load. I chase more weight on the bar. There's great value to the last set, going for as many. Great value. Brian Mann, who's now, I believe, at Texas Tech, did that great study where he took the DeLorme protocol and looked at it again and discovered, no shock here, that it's still one of the best ways to train. What the other thing he did was interesting is on your last set, and I'm going to generalize his findings just to make life easier for everybody. But if you get the last set and you get 8 to 12 reps, you come back next time and do that load again. If you get 13 above, you go up. If you only get 5, 6, or 7, you go down the next workout. And by the way, you can do that 3 days a week for 6, 8, 12 weeks in some cases for people before you need to do any variation. Just by honestly looking at that last set and those numbers, you can make some good progress. And folks, that's what everything is all about on this, is progress. I don't know whatever happened to my original copy of Mike Metzger's books, but I wish I had it, because in his original books, he talks about Olympic lifting, and he talks about doing traditional high volume stuff. And once you get to a certain point, he says in this book, then you chase the more abbreviated training. I get it. I've got a whole bunch of magazines there are all about abbreviated training. I threw out all the books. These, one set to failure stuff. But very often, I think it's a road that works until it doesn't. So, Shelva, one thing, maybe think of it this way. For a part of every year, I think going the one set to failure has great value. And then from there, shift into a more traditional program, traditional volume program. From there, shift into an easy strength program. From there, maybe, Olympic lift, or play with kettlebells, or do some gymnastics thing or calisthenics thing, go run some park courses. And I think that's the way to go. there is great value in, going after reps on the last set. You just can't do it all the time the rest of your career. We just hit against our own genetic walls and the reality of what the human body can handle. Good question. Thank you. Marcos asks a question. It's interesting. Marcos says, I'm finishing my starting strength novice linear progression, and I have a question about programming. I will go to my death wondering why people ask me questions about linear progression. I don't, as we just talked with our question from Shalva, very rarely in life does anything progress linear and keeps on doing that until, let death do us part. Is it better to keep the same exercise and transition into intermediate programming, or to redo it says NLP, and novice linear progression, okay, with variations of the exercises? NLP has another meaning. Front squat instead of low back, sumo deadlift instead of deadlift, and go into intermediate programming when the linear progression runs out for the variations. So, welcome to the problem of linear variations. You hit this wall, and then if you talk to the people at the forum, they'll say, follow the program. You say, I followed the program, and we're back to Dan John ranting. Yes, variation is a must, but we all know that. Summer is wonderful, but if you lived in eternal summer, it'd be real hard to enjoy anything that grows or plants. Life is cyclical. Life has ups and downs. As I'm in my office today, I am looking forward to winter. I'm a big fan of winter, and people say, I have this theory, and I think it's a book now, that there's no such thing as cold. It's just underprepared, underdressed. I like winter because the more I have winter, the more I appreciate spring. Snowstorms and shoveling makes me appreciate those wonderful days of summer where, I'm with my grandkids at a pool, no water in the winter, no pool in the summer. So I just think it's natural to have cyclical periodization. I just think it works with the way the universe goes. My favorite way, and I think I've said this before, Marcos, but in the fall, a program like Starting Strength is probably pretty good. People go back to school in the fall. American football's in the fall. In the winter, go heavy, go hard, go home. If you train in my gym and you're doing 5 sets of 5 and 10 exercises with 3 minutes rest, you won't have fingers when you leave the gym because it's so cold in there. So go heavy, go hard, go home. In the spring, that's why I love track and field. That's when you want to get outside and start having some fun again, start doing some ballistics. Summer is based on playing and go out and have some fun, enjoy things. And then when you get back to fall, you may put on a few pounds from whatever you did in the summer, and let's get on that discipline program and then go heavy, go hard, go home. I had somebody ask me in a workshop, why do you think linear progression sucks? And I said, wow, sucks. I don't know if I've ever said that. It's not that it sucks, it just doesn't work. God, I'd love it if it did. I've got, I work with these really good discus throwers, and, I'd love it if, they throw 100 feet on day one, and then we tweak something, they throw 101. And, for the next 100 days, we make little tweaks and they throw 200 feet. It's just not the way the universe works. And it just doesn't. So thank you for your question, Marcos. And I hope I gave you some ideas. On variation, I would try to play with the seasons a little bit. And changing exercises, I think, is always the best way to do variation. If you go to the workout generator on danjohnuniversity.com, that's why I like it so much, is that you can instantly change the lifting variation. Because of a lot of us, and I noticed this, I'm back doing, so I just did a couple of months of strict barbell military presses. Well, because this is some things, I decided to go back to half kneeling kettlebell presses. And it's like I'm a whole new person again. So sometimes those tiny little variations are just as good as those grandiose, massive, you know, I don't know, you sell everything and you move to another country, you know, to improve your training. Sometimes just going from one exercise to another is all you need. Thank you. I've got a question from Price. Price says this: my question is regarding mobility. I've been an athlete for years. I'm disciplined about my cardio, strength, rest, and nutrition. However, my mobility is a glaring weak point, specifically ankle, T-spine, and shoulders. This is negatively affecting my squats and overhead presses during kettlebell workouts. Boy, it'd be nice to know what kind of athlete you are. Because, you know, if an exercise, if your lack of mobility hurts you in the weight room, that same lack of mobility might be the thing that makes you a world champion. You know, I mean, like with professional baseball pitchers, you know, they've got glaring physical issues. And if you fix those issues, they're not major league pitchers anymore. Their faults are their magic formula. So I wish I knew what the sport was, but okay. What are some strategies to integrate effective, time-efficient mobility work into training? Well, I think one quick, simple thing is, what do you need it for? Make sure you know exactly why you need this. I remember one time someone told me that if I increase my pec flexibility, I would throw the discus farther. What a bunch of nonsense. You know, because what makes the discus go farther, at least when it comes to the pecs and any upper body, is the fact that you pre-stretch it. You know, or shish ke, as my coach used to explain to me. Shish ke, you know, that bounce you get from the body. There's nothing. In fact, flexibility probably would make you a worse discus thrower, up to a point. So what we do, Price, is pretty simple. I dedicate 1 day a week to flexibility and mobility. It's Tonic Thursday, and I spend the entire time working on issues. I don't like what I see in a lot of gyms now, and it looks like it looks like we're in hospital wards. You know, everyone's on the ground, foam rolling, and I got a hot spot here. And you're doing all this junk. I would really suggest, Price, you only do your outside of that 1 day a week, the dedicated day. All your other mobility work, all your other stretching work should be done away from the field of play, away from the weightlifting facility, or whatever. You know, do it on your bedroom floor, do it when you're watching TV. Don't start to turn the weight room into a mass unit, okay? I don't want to see all that stuff in there, because it's real hard trying to go, with a massive clean and jerk, and your bot and your friend is, taking that little roller up and down his forearm, and it's just real hard. I mean, so keep that to yourself. But I would suggest when you're watching TV, that's when I would take care of business. I will say one thing about ankle mobility, and almost all three of the things you have. So to remind, ankle, T-spine, and shoulders. I really see two of those, T-spine and shoulders. I think those two go together. But with the ankles, one thing I'm going to tell you, and it's going to sound odd, but while you're watching TV, get a towel, and I would start spending some quality time massaging your feet. And if you're going to look for hot spots with ankle issues, look for the feet first. Now, there's no question. The leg bone's connected to the backbone. I know that. But when it comes to ankle mobility, you really can get some insights from foot care, foot massage, and if you can, work on those weird hot spots. In my own case, as an Olympic lifter, I found that to be very, very beneficial to my ankle mobility, and to the point that I can now crack my ankle like this so I'll loosen up. I'll spend quality time loosening up the arch and the toes and that ball of the foot area, and it's interesting because I know good things are happening, because then I'll just bring my toes back up to my shin, and I'll get this nasty pop sound come out of my ankles, like everything was just bound up in there, ready to go. Your mileage may vary. I hope that helps. Do all that stuff away from the gym. Speak to a good physio or PT and come up, get yourself what you need. Don't just do a bunch of crap that you read in a book. Find out exactly what you need for your issues and, focus on that. Okay, thank you. Got a question from Quinn. During the summer, I spend hours on my kayak, road bike, or just in my hiking boots in my beautiful state of Maine. For the last year or so, my focus has been on shedding unwanted blubber accrued during the COVID lockdown and have oscillated between the easy strength and 3 days a week of the 5 moons using the 3x rep scheme. Sounds like you're using the workout generator. This has served me well, and I've seen increases in my main lifts while losing around 45 pounds. As the autumn wind comes blowing in, I am hoping to follow your advice and adopt a focused bus bench program after a year of park bench training. What program would you recommend for the full 13-week fall season for someone getting ready to dial it in and getting some serious results? Well, if you're on the site, I honestly think you ought to do the whole prep program for the RKC. That prep program is money, I got to tell you. So if you're on the site, there's 3 programs I'm going to recommend. The first, if you have kettlebells and you're interested, that snatch test RKC prep program, it's money. It is really a good program. You don't need a lot of equipment. 124 kilo bell for most men, 20 is fine, 16, whatever you have is fine. And you just get all those reps and sets in. The first time I did it with a 28, and I cruised through my RKC certification, even though it's considered the hardest one ever. The next program I'd like you to at least look at, and this would be specifically for you, Quinn. You might want to look at the mountain climbing program. There's daily walks, there's traditional basic lifting. There's nothing fancy to it, but it might tie in real well with your needs. Now, finally, the program that I think, all these are fine. There's a snatch program, there's a mountain climbing program, but the one that might be best for you in the situation, of course, is that 3-month program that was originally called the post-deployment program, but I think on the site it's called the hypertrophy and strength program, I think. But it's the one that you're going to do with every basic lift. You're also going to do an original strength movement and a loaded carry. The loaded carries and the original strength movements, they so add up over time. It is shockingly hard. And I do provide most of the numbers for you in there. You have to think a little bit when it comes to the press because there's so much variation. The pull is all dialed in for you with the hangs and the pull-ups. That's all dialed in. The loads for the squat and the rack deadlift are all dialed in. You have to figure out your own loaded carry loads, but 16, 20, 24, whatever is fine. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. I added the snatch, that prep program, because if that's all you got, it's a good program. The mountain climbing program sounded pretty good for what you actually want, but maybe we could do that post-deployment for 3 months and then the mountain climbing prep program for 3 months. I think that would suit you well. I never know what equipment you have, what's going on in your life, but these are all 3 of the programs I just recommended aren't just me going, here's a program. These are well thought through, well-established pieces that I've had a lot of success with. Okay, thank you. Ethan asks a question. He says, love your work. Well, good. Well, thank you. Then I'll answer your question. I've been following since the T Nation articles. Just purchased Easy Strength for Fat Loss, good book. About halfway through, enjoying it a lot. Good. So to find that, go to danjohnuniversity.com/bookstore. I started a 90-day weight loss challenge utilizing your Easy Strength for Fat Loss principles. I'm currently on day 48. Oh, well, that's fantastic. I mean, that, folks, anybody who sticks to a program past 20 days is doing great. That's excellent. I've lost about 25 pounds. That's fantastic. I've been focusing on the clean and press. The goal is 225 by day 90, currently at 210. Well, I mean, you've got 42 workouts to get there. That's 42 workouts to add 15 pounds. I mean, that's pretty reasonable, pretty doable, yeah. My sticking point seems to be about hip level on the clean. I'm sure it's a technical issue. I have no in-person coaching on this, just videos for direction. I'm doing more of a power clean from what I can tell. High catch position, catching in more of a squat feels unstable, no problem. Any tips you can think of for the clean? I've been adding a heavy push press once a week or so to get used to using heavier weights overhead. Yeah, on the clean, the mistake most people make, Ethan, especially if they just learned online, is the rhythm or the tempo has issues. So when I teach the clean, and if you're on the site, there still should be a little booklet called From the Ground Up. I want you to read it, okay? So when I teach the clean and the snatch, we do something called, I think it's called the 1 second drill that it's never been a second, but you'll start in, shoulders back, beach position, head up, hands on the bar. And what I ask you to do is lift the bar about 1 inch off the ground, okay? And in that position, I have you wiggle your toes, make sure your chin is stuck out, make sure your latch engaged, and then I say up, and you go 1 inch higher. And we keep doing this, up, 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 until you get about 1 inch above the knees, and then I say 3, 2, 1, jump. So you've been engaged with this bar for, 15, 20 seconds before you do a clean. What's good about that, and I can get lifters to go about 80% of their max on this drill. What's good about it is you learn the rhythm. It's funny, in track practice, I'll often do this with a thrower, or, do these. I'm trying to explain tempo and rhythm with my hands. When it comes to the clean, most people just drive their feet into the ground as hard as they can, shoot their hips to the sky, bounce off the ground, and there's no ba-boom after the knees. So it is, when you're first learning, the tempo I teach is slow, and then when it gets about 1 inch or so above the knees, jump. Slow, jump. So boom. And almost universally, that's the issue. Other interesting thing about this for Ethan and anybody else who's doing cleans, when you do that, the weight pops up on top of here, and so it doesn't hurt your wrists anymore. You don't do that weird turnover. You clean like you're supposed to, boom, and snap the elbows under. The fact that you're doing this in easy strength for fat loss makes me realize why you've had such good success, by the way. If I can get people to try that variation, the Olympic lifts for fat loss, the easy strength variation, or even in your case, the clean and press, good things seem to happen. The Olympic lifts, and I'm going to include the clean and press in this, and fat loss seem to oddly work together. And I'm pretty sure it's because that full range of motion engages so much of the human body that on the coldest day in my gym, if I'm doing squat snatches, I start feeling the heat, and it's cold in my gym, folks. I have to shovel the driveway sometimes of snow to be able to get everybody to be able to use the gym. And the garage doors are wide open, and the air is cold, and the air is literally freezing, and we're out there. Well, it's much colder than freezing. And we train and we enjoy it. The Olympic lifts will warm me up more than putting on a hood and gloves. So, and I think that helps with with the changes in body composition and lean body mass, and kind of moving fat in a different direction besides more. Thank you, Ethan. Really good. And thanks for following, okay? Got a question from Matt. My name is Matt, and I've recently graduated from Springville College, a very famous university for strength and conditioning, this past spring with a bachelor's degree in exercise science. I have completed S&C internships in the private sector and at the D1 collegiate level. Although after graduating I want to begin taking on my own clients, general population or athletic, it doesn't matter to me. I have also recently attained my CSCS. I have locations that I can train at them, so it's not an issue. I just need to begin getting the word out there and marketing myself properly. This seems like a broad question, but is there any words of advice you can offer somebody in my situation? It's tough, isn't it? It's the fitness industry is a cutthroat field. It's filled with shysters and hucksters, and there's a How I Met Your Mother where this personal trainer she's just horrible, and give me 100 push-ups in the first workout, first day. Get on the ground and do 100 push-ups. And of course, no one ever goes back either. So I know this, and I do want you to kind of put this into your heart. If you're good, you'll get rewarded. If you take care of business, if your clients improve, you're going to be okay. And right there is the $1 million point. Your best advertising is your clients. Now, I know we're in the era of client testimonials, and I'll be on one of these social media feeds, and everybody at every gym now has the whole thing where they video their clients talking about what a positive experience they had. But that's good, and I think there's value to it. Always makes me wonder, okay, here I am in Murray, Utah, and I'll have someone say, Dan John is the most wonderful human in the world. True. And of course, this thing then goes out to the universe. But how many people does it impact here in Murray, Midvale, Salt Lake City? Not very many. Your best clients, your best advertising is when your clients are at a party, your clients are at a function, and people say, Edna, you look great. What are you doing? And they say, oh dear gosh, Matt, my personal trainer, Matt, my coach, has changed my life. That's your best advertising. It's a tough field to get your name out there. It just is. I still think most people should really try to do a better job with local. Try to get the word out there locally. There's a lot of people who come to me locally are people who knew my former athletes, people who knew my former students. So sometimes it's just going to be as simple as make sure you mine, M-I-N-E, mine, the local resources first. The best gyms I've been around always have community events. Now, I'm thinking of a friend of mine in Denver, thinking of a friend of mine in Connecticut, a friend of mine in Rhode Island, my friends in Illinois, some of the other states where they do community events. For Thanksgiving, you give, you offer a free workout to anybody who brings in a bag of food. For Christmas, if they bring in a toy, those kinds of things. And they can just be simple, follow me workouts. They don't have to be, it doesn't have to be your best stuff. Get people involved, reach out to the community, utilize the community resources you have. I'm always amazed. There's a little local paper that comes out, and there's no gyms that advertise in it. We also have a city weekly here, an outstanding little magazine here. The best news in Utah, because they actually, is city weekly almost all the time. But you go through there and it's ads for bars, it's ads for concerts, and occasionally in the back you'll see an ad for this or that. But there's this great resource where you could very inexpensively get an ad in. So it goes. The order would be something along these lines. Word of mouth is you can't buy you can't buy it. You can't buy advertising that is as good as a word of mouth. Then the second thing would be the communal events, and then the third thing would be even, and I know I'm talking about print newspaper, which is, you know, an anathema to many people nowadays, but people still look at it. The more you can cultivate your current clients into being mavens for you, the better. Now, do you need a social media presence? I don't know. I don't know if it helps a local situation. I know a lot of people who have lots and lots and lots of likes and thumbs up on social media who really don't do very well financially. You know, the whole world likes them, usually because they barely wear any clothes, but they're really not making an impact financially. I'm not the best on this. I'm certainly no expert. But the other thing after that, let me take one last step. When I mentioned community, I think that's how I built my career. I'm a big believer in something called intentional community. If you're on the websites, and I also know people steal it, I've got the Coyote Point Kettlebell Club, a little booklet I made years ago about that experience. I love it when people come together just to work out. I also have that inner circle. So danjohninnercircle.com, and people come in and support each other. That's why I think if I was a personal trainer, I would get rid of entirely almost the one-on-one model. Maybe an orientation, but even then, I think small group classes where you have individual training, but you also have a community, I think that's the best. How you work it, of course, that's the art, not the, not necessarily science. But getting your name out there and moving ahead is tough. And I hope I gave you some ideas that will help. All right, Matt, thank you. Good question. We got a question from John. It seems that in your programs, the carries are now sometimes in the beginning of the workout and not at the end. What is your reason for this? For what populations would you still program it rather on the end of the session? John, I don't know where you're seeing this, but just maybe for reference, I very often use the waiter walk and the suitcase carry early in the workout as part of that general warm-up. Well, when I squat, I need a very specific warm-up. I need to get in the goblet squat position, kind of push those knees out, move around a little bit, kind of get the creaks and breaks out. But I also need to kind of wake up the body too. And I find that the waiter walk and the suitcase carry have a lot of value in just saying, okay, here we go. It knits me and makes me go. But honestly, John, I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was just a one-off article. Somebody, my friend Chris, helped me look at what AI does with my workouts. And I got to tell you, I was impressed at some of it, how fast it came out, but I was really not impressed with the fact that it wasn't my workouts. It's things I would never recommend. I still like loaded carries at the end of a workout, and I'll tell you why, is that they really are hard in the grip. So if you do, like when I Olympic lift, I'll do waiter walk and suitcase carry in my warm-up. But if I was to do a heavy death march, farmer walk, I think it would tear my grip up so much, not the skin, but just my grip strength, that it would impact the lifting. So I like your question. I don't know where you see this, but I have to believe you. So suitcase carry, waiter walk in the beginning to kind of get the body, lit up. That's great. But serious, I don't know, Sisyphus kind of training, keep that at the end, okay? Thank you. For about everybody, okay? Thank you. We got a question from Wade. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the following quote from Easy Strength. Simply doing general conditioning along the lines of kettlebell work, some powerlifting, and some easy basic calisthenics is all you will ever need to reach your goals. I don't know. I said that? That's really good. Would you please expand upon that statement and explain what that workout plan might look like? Well, danjohninnercircle.com, go to the workout generator. That's exactly what it is. But the idea is this. So when I coach at the high school levels, when the students are fit, when I'm finished with them at the end of it, just 1 year or when they graduate, They know how to tumble. They know all the kettlebell movements. They know all the Olympic lifting movements. They know all the power lifts. They know all the calisthenics. I teach them parkour. I teach them how to, juggle kettlebells. I show them every assessment I've ever seen in my entire career and, try to share it and teach it with them. When they graduate, they're not going to, most of them will never Olympic lift again. They know how, but they won't. Maybe power clean some. But it's that foundation that carries them on the rest of their life. Once you know the whole family of weightlifting, if all you have is a 24 kilo kettlebell and a barbell, and you have the courage, and by the way, no rack, no bench, no pads, nothing fancy, just one kettlebell, one barbell, and know how to do calisthenics. You can train at a high level everything you want for the rest of your life. And I think what happens sometimes, Wade, now I got to be careful because I don't sell equipment. In fact, and I don't sell equipment. And so for me, I'm not an equipment driven coach, whatever you have, I'll work with. But if you're doing a workout where you're doing clean and press, so all you can have is kettlebell, and a barbell and knowledge of calisthenics. So you do barbell press followed by kettlebell swings. That's not bad. From there, you do you power clean front squat followed by snatches, kettlebell snatches. And then at the end, you do a little medley of like V-ups, push-ups. Oh, and probably some kind of standing exercise. That could be Turkish get-ups. That'd be kind of fun. Push-ups, V-ups, roll over, Turkish get-up, boom, boom, come back down, V-ups, push-ups, Turkish get-up. That'd be kind of a fun little thing. You're going to be in tremendous shape. You're going to have fine mobility. You're going to be strong, very strong with this barbell. Your deadlifts and swings, they're going to make you very strong with this program. If you get the, goblet squats and some overhead squats and front squats with the barbell, you're going to be dynamite. Always remember, Wade, and this is a hard thing, I think, because it doesn't seem to get across to people. It's not the tool, it's what you do with the tool. If you give me a hammer and chisel and I'll just try to break things. Michelangelo would turn it into a piece of art. So these are just tools, and what you do with the tools is the important thing. I feel I have a broad toolkit for coaching. I have a lot of equipment, but I also have a lot of background and knowledge, and it makes life a little bit easier for me. So when in doubt, sometimes, Wade, and this is something I've done many times, I kind of mentally ban some of the equipment in my facility. So I did this last summer, where all I used was a barbell, and all I used was a barbell that was on the ground. A few weeks into that, I'd come up with a new way to do my Olympic lifting workouts. Basically, it's easy strength for Olympic lifting with no rack. So I would snatch 3 sets of 3, make it 5 sets of 2. We'll do it that 3 Olympic snatch, 5 sets of 2, clean and jerk, 3 singles, clean and 2 front squats, 2 sets of 2, switch shoes, my walking shoes, power clean and press, 3 sets of 3. On that last press, walk out the door. Man, I loved it. And I got to tell you, with the amount of heart beating you get from all those big movements in the Olympic lifts, good things happen. I'm sure you could just take the kettlebell, and I've done this, the Coyote Point Kettlebell Club. Take a kettlebell, go into the middle of the park or middle of a forest, or go to the beach. Beach kettlebell training is the best. And just say, I'm going to do stuff, and let it happen, invent things. I learned a very interesting thing about the way I do kettlebell swings. When I do kettlebell swings on a beach, when I hit it, I slowly slide backwards. When I swing, the sets, I kind of leave like a snail track in the middle of the beach, which I thought was kind of funny. But, when you read like Easy Strength for Fat Loss, my book, and I just keep coming up with more and more variations, or you go to the workout generator, danjohnuniversity.com, and the AI, the algorithm keeps pumping out new variations. To me, that's the joy of what I do. It's working around problems is my favorite thing to do. With my athletes, we're having a problem. One of them has a injured throwing hand. Another one has another issue. By the way, not throwing or lifting related, being college students related. Every weekend, on Mondays, I can't wait to find out what happened on the weekend. But it's fun when there are injuries because it makes me work around them a little bit. So that's kind of fun. Well, listen, Wade, I hope that helped. It's a good question, and thanks for quoting my own work back to me. As always, folks, if you have questions, send them to the podcast at danjohnuniversity.com. Each and every week, I sit down here and I answer them the best I can. Today's questions were really good, and it made it very easy. They were crisp and to the point, which helps me immensely, more than you know. So thank you, gentle listeners. And, until next time, let's all keep on lifting and learning. Thank you.